Power Poppy. I'm Allison Cope, and today we're going to talk a little bit about shading. So let's get started. So a while back, for the Daily Marker 30-Day Coloring Challenge, I created this document where you could stamp, record your coloring info, and keep records of what I had done. So today I thought I'd share this with you. Please feel free to download this sheet to your own computer. The link will be provided below on the Power Poppy blog. So today I thought I would use this. So I've printed this out on one of my Copic friendly papers. This is Express It. And we're going to do some basic experimenting with all kinds of different ways to shade. So I'm going to stamp a variety of images in my blank space, and I'll be right back and we'll start talking about shading. So I've stamped a couple of blooms from our Abundant Petals stamp set. This is a huge, gorgeous new set, which includes coordinating dies. So I've stamped it in my trusty dusty Memento Tuxedo Black ink. It's my favorite ink for Copics. So let's get started here. Everybody shades things differently. Everybody learns to color in a different manner. So if one way is working for you, that's okay, and stick with the way that works for you. Or if that works for the paper that you're using, then stick with that method. But we are going to talk a little bit about using some neutral markers first. Copic has a variety of different neutrals. We have the neutral section, the N section. We have the warm neutrals, which is the W section. We have the toner grays, which are T's, and we have cool grays, which are the C's. Sorry, mine are all mixed up, but this is my box of neutral goodies. So one of the tricks that I've learned from other Copic colorists is that they really like to start with putting in their neutrals before they even add color. So let's start with neutral gray. So we're going to start with our N's. We're going to start dark, actually. I'm going to go from dark to light. And once again, this is a preference. I start with darks, and sometimes I start with lights. So do what you're comfortable with. And of course, where you add your shading is a preference too. Some people like true realism, so they imagine their light source coming in from a certain direction. You know, do what makes you happy. Do what floats your boat. I'm just going to, I tend to assume that it comes in from the right. I don't know, I just always have. So, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Goodness gracious. This is something that's supposed to be fun and relaxing. So go in with your darkest marker. Now this is probably way too much to add for your dark. You have to kind of use it sparingly. So you decide where you're going to put those shadows. Sometimes there's a little shadow. Sometimes the shadow is quite deep and long. It depends on your liking and if you're going to follow the rule of using a directional sun source or light source. So keep it simple, simple, simple. And then you can go, because that was our darkest, that was an N5, and that's what this column is for here. Basically, I just take whatever kind of pen floats your boat, and I record the name of the marker, and then I put a swatch of whatever color it is. Just makes it easier for referencing. And I keep all my cards. Now I have a smaller version that I record with any cutout images. Like for instance, this was a wild mushroom card. Here's all of the colors that I used and for what items. This is just a smaller one. I'll also link to that. So I've kept all these because sometimes I use these as references to go, oh, you know what? I really like that color scheme. Or I really like the way things blended. So I'm going to go to an N3. And you can record these before, after, whatever floats your boat. And you basically want to dip into your darkest because you're going to pull it up. And what this does is it blends with the dark one and pulls that ink with it. So it blends as you're taking this marker through the dark one. And like I said, this is probably a little bit too much dark, but you know what? Live and learn. And that's another thing. We're not perfect. We're far from perfect. I still learn every day. I learn a new trick. I learn a new color scheme. You'd be surprised after 10 years of coloring the things that I still learn. And that's why I like sharing it with you guys. So that would be our neutral. That's our N3. And you can go as low and as light as you want. This would be an N1. And once again, the lighter you go, and depending upon the color, you can actually lighten everything, because when you touch this pen, because it has more blending solution in it, you're going to lighten your dark areas. Yeah. So it's another way to blend out those dark shadows. Once again, just have fun. There we go. So you've laid down all your neutrals. Your N5, your N3, your N1. Now you're going to go in and add your color. So let's go for a light color. I'm going to just randomly pick, let's see, yellow. Because yellow is one of those colors that is very, very light, obviously. And what you're going to do is you're going to color over all of those areas. Every single itty bitty bit. And I would suggest the same way that you color your shadows is go in the same direction as the way you have implemented your initial shading. Because again, this color is going to pull whatever colors are below with it. This is another good use of scrap paper too. And this is why we experiment. That, you know, yellow may not be a great fit with gray. It kind of muddies it out. It's not so bright as an underlay. Because Copics are transparent, you are going to see the color below. So be aware of it. And that's why you do have pages like this, so that you can experiment and go, oh, that's not quite what I was looking for. So print out pages like this on a Sunday afternoon when you're feeling crafty. You don't really want to do anything specific, but you just want to sit down and have fun and just doodle and color and just experiment. Do an experiment like this where you play with overlayment of colors. So I would go in and add a deeper yellow, let's say a Y04. Oops, wrong end. And I would deepen my color. So play. Okay. Play with laying cool over warm, warm under cool, all that good stuff. And now I'm just literally splashing color in here. Coloring can be quick, easy, not fussy. Just go in and have fun. So, I mean, yes, it does add shading to a yellow rose, but maybe it's not quite the tone I want. I want something maybe a little brighter. So let's go and experiment with a non-neutral and figure out, let's figure out what might work better than our neutral grays. So let's go in and try some warm grays. So this is our warms. This is a W5. I am going to start dark again. So all in the learning process, I'm going to go with a little bit of 5. Just a little tiny bit, just to get those really, really dark spots. So I'm not going under everything, but just where I know I'm going to see some really, really dark, almost, I don't want to really say harsh, but harsh, deep dark tones. So just using this sparingly again. Just laying it down really, really quickly here. You always kind of have to decide where the insides are kind of intricate, and you have to kind of follow the picture and do what kind of works best for you. Okay, so that's our W5. That's going to be our darkest. I'm going to go with our warm gray 3. So this is kind of our mid-tone of our... So I'm going to extend those shadows, dragging my tip through that dark color again, because once again we're picking it up and blending it out. So wherever you think you need some shading, you're going to apply that mid-tone, and of course you get to decide again how far do you want to bring out that shadow, that shading. This is the fun part. Now Marcella makes amazingly detailed images, so quite often she already has shown you where she kind of thinks that the shadows and the shading should go with her hatch lines. So pay attention to what the artist is telling you about the image. Okay, there's our mid-tone. We're going to go back to a light tone. We're going to go with a W1 again. Okay, so you can extend those shadows up and blend them out even more. If you have to, and you're not quite happy with the amount of like dark shading tones that you've put in there, like because you've gone over with a light one and it's blended out, go back. Copics are transparent. You just add another layer. What's nice about Copics as well is that, say I got busy and I have to go and make dinner for the family. Leave it. Drop it. You can come back to it and continue to rework it. That's the beauty of this medium and why I love it so much. So once again, you get to play until you're absolutely happy. And I'm going to say, let's call it done. So there's our warm shading base, okay? All W markers. Again, we're going to go in with the same yellow markers as a comparison because I want to show you how much different that undershading makes to the color. So I'm just adding that very, very light Y00. And I'm not being picky. I am leaving a little bit of white on the tips. Here. Like I said, you can always go back and add. Layer, layer, layer. Fabulous, fabulous. Okay. So, quick coloring. Now, we've still got one more tone of yellow to go. Let's put in our Y04 just like we did above. Okay. And then let's compare the difference between the two blooms. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the cooler tone of the neutral? Do you prefer the warmer tone of the warm grays, the W's? It will set the mood of your image. Maybe it's for a sympathy card and you want the tones to be a little subdued. Okay? It's all experimenting. It's so much fun. Okay. So they're colored exactly the same way. This one has a little bit more darker tones, but for the most part, it's exactly the same bloom. Which one do you prefer? This one is much brighter. This one is much duller. But you know what? This may be the one that you are looking for. This is the mood you want to set versus something like this. That's where you get to have fun. Now, tones of gray are not the only way you can shade. Let's bring in some other colors and let's do some more shading. So another common color that a lot of Copic artists use for adding shading to their work is the BVs, and they're a blue-violet. And two of the most common ones that I see out there are a BV31 and a BV20. I'm also going to bring in a couple of darker shades as well, but let's talk about these ones. Now, I just want to give you a little show here. Okay, so this is our Y00 and our Y04. This is from our last two blooms. This is where scratch paper off to the side when you're creating. Doodle off to the side, layer things, because sometimes stuff evolves that maybe you don't want to happen, or you don't like the way it looks. So that's a BV20 over the two and a BV31. Doodle, 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 experiment. So maybe this is not the color that you want, but look, it's a tone of gray. Isn't that cool? Yeah, super, super cool. So that's where you get to bring in other colors and layer them up. So let's go the opposite way this time. Let's color our image first using our color and go back and put the shading over top. Does it make a difference? I don't know. Does it work for you? We're going to go back to, I'd love to go back to our Ys, but let's bring in another color. Let's bring in pinks. Okay? So we're going to start with an R20. It is a nice light pink. This one is quite common for giving skin tone cheek color, that kind of thing. So this is our base. This time I'm going from light to dark. I'm not going to color the whole bloom. I think I'll just color the bottom here. I'm going to leave a little bit of white on the edge of my petals. Aren't these amazing flower images in this abundant petal set? I know, awesome. Okay, so we're going to go in with our mid-tone, our R21, Like I said, these are great sheets for keeping record of all the ditties that you have put on your experimental creation. Don't forget to print out this on your favorite Copic paper. Something that runs obviously through your printer, which is great. You can also throw digital images on here too, so you can practice using your digital images, and of course size them to that empty square and you're good. All right, I'm gonna go in with our dark tone. I just picked a grouping, just a random grouping here. Okay, so our dark tone, we're just putting in little sparingly. You can do whatever floats your boat. God, can I tell you that my Copics were one of the very best investments that I think I've ever made as a card maker. You do not need a full set. Absolutely. I know there are amazing artists out there that do not have full sets. You do not need every color. There's lots of recommendations out there from artists about their favorite color palettes. I tend to be a full set girl. You don't have to be a full set girl. Okay, so there's our R20, R21, R22 base. Okay, let's bring in our BVs. I want to show you the difference. Don't know if it's noticeable up there. Put them side by side here. Sorry, that's my puppy in the background. He's having a nap. Okay, so the BV20 has a lot more gray tone to it than the BV31. It's got more purple. It's a little bit more vibrant. So if you're looking for something that has a little bit more gray in it, because obviously you're going to have grayed shadows. Now, as you add your BV20, you're going to notice that it adds that darkness, that same darkness that your gray markers would add. It's going to take the bright out of your color, basically. Yeah. So you can use your BVs. Now, sometimes I want a subtle shading. Sometimes I want a deeper one. So if I want to go deeper and darker, because I think that there's not enough contrast there, I'm going to pull my BV, oh my god, I picked the wrong ends, BV23 in. So it is much darker, obviously, than the BV20. So again, you can add as much or as little as you want. Because they're getting darker, I'm going to use this one more sparingly. And you can go in and blend this out. You could blend it out not only with the BV20, but you could go in with one of your pink colors and blend it out as well. Just know that if you go with a lighter tone, you could take some of that dark tone again because of the amount of blender solution in the lighter markers. You can actually take out a lot of the darker tone. What if this isn't quite dark enough? Well, the next one I go to in this series is the BV25, and yep, she's fairly dark. And again, it's not a gray tone, it's a purple. So it will play with your color scheme differently than the grays. So this is where experiment, experiment, experiment. Have your doodle sheet off to the side. Is this something that you want to use? It all comes down to whatever floats your boat. So you can go super deepy darky. I'm going to go in with my medium tone, my R21, and I'm just going to pull a little bit more color to those petals, like such. So play. You can come back to this a zillion times. The one thing to note that if your paper is saturated, it will go through the other side. This is Copic Express It. It's just the nature of Copics. They bleed and attach to the fibers in the paper. So just be aware, whatever surface you're working on. I've heard recommendations work on glass. It's supposed to be the best. It's a better wicking tool to put underneath your creations. So give that a whirl. Okay, so the next time you think of shading, think possible the BVs. Another great way to add shading. All right, let's go one more step and let's talk shading with more color, deeper color. All right, on to our last image here. So I've chosen another color palette. We're going to go in with the YR series here. I'm going to start with a YR 31. It's a fairly light, soft orange. And again, I'm just going to work on the lower petals here just to make this faster. Okay, let's put on our base. I am going to leave a little white on my edges. I'm going to really color quickly, apparently, for this one. That's what the blender solution is all about. Fix those boo-boos. And you know what? Sometimes boo-boos turn out to be a good thing. So embrace your boo-boos. All right. There's our YR31. Then I'm going to go just slightly darker with a YR21. It's not that much darker, but it does add a little bit of darkness to those images. Like I said, I'm a speedy coloring right now. There we go. Sometimes you get the coolest effect when you actually speed color. Think about that. Okay, next color is going to be my YR12. Okay, and again, just a little bit of your dark. Okay, like I said, you can always go back and add whatever floats your boat. Okay. So let's say that's the finished color of my bloom. That's what I want. Well, is it really? Let's take a look about using the same color family to darken this, or pretty close to the same color family anyway. So I used YRs to get us here. Let's go and experiment with something different. Let's try an E13. This is probably not dark enough, but let's experiment. Again, experiment, experiment, practice, practice. So this is from the brown family, but see how much that deeper tone is starting to work? And if it's not quite dark enough, the beauty of Copics is they layer. So you can go in and add whatever color you want right over top. Love, love, love Copics for that ability. Okay, so E13, not quite dark enough. Let's go even deeper. Let's try an E08. It has a very much orangey undertone to it. See? It is in the earthy brown area of the Copic chart, but it very much has an orangey red undertone to it. Because this is a darker marker, I'm just using it sparingly to begin with. I can always, 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 always add more. Beauty, beauty, beauty of Copics. So just sparingly adding, just ever so slightly. You know what? It's just paper. If you don't feel comfortable with the way it's come out, stamp another, color another. It's just paper. So that very much adds a lot of depth. And if you're not even happy with that, go darker. I'm going to go more of a chestnutty color. How about an E18? You'd be like, oh my God, that's really dark. Yeah, use it sparingly. You can always go back and add more. Say you really want to enrichen those. Enrichen those shadows so that they're so super striking. It does not take a lot. And you know what? Let's just call that done. So experiment. Experiment in layering the same colors. Experiment using some BVs. Does it work well with your colors? Experiment with using something that's warm in color versus something that's cooler or more neutral in color. It does make a difference. So experiment with the colors over top as well. So I hope you too get some time to experiment with your mediums. Try this with colored pencils. Try this with paints. Try this with your watercolors. Basically, just have some fun. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you'll join me again soon. And if you want to share some of your experiments in the comments, I would love to see them. Print out the page on your favorite paper, and away you go. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.